and good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Moving Forward Leadership Podcast. I'm your host and founder, Scott McCarthy, and I'd like to welcome you to episode number 7. Yes, this is number 7 this time. If you've listened to my previous episode number 6, I kept calling that one number 7. My apologies, I'll make mistakes. Not a big deal. Anyway, today, got a great show lined up for you, I think. Hope you all had a great Happy New Year. It is 2017. Hope you had a great holidays. Let's dive back into it, shall we? Before I kick into today's episode, which is dealing with 3 different personality types that you'll find in a workspace, I'd like to first do a little shout out, and that's to a Twitter party which I try to participate in on a regular basis. It's called HB Rogue, so Hotel Bravo, Romeo, Oscar, Golf, Uniform, Echo, for those who know the phonetic alphabet. If you search that hashtag Thursdays at 12:30 Eastern, you'll actually see me out there participating. It's a great conversation for about an hour on leadership. You can find them on Google Plus as well, and I will be having I'll have a link there to that community page on Google Plus in the show notes for today's episode. Where can you find the show notes, you ask? Go ahead and go to movingforwardleadership.com, movingforwardleadership.com, and you'll see the show notes to all the episodes, not just today's there. So today's episode is, we're going to talk about 3 different personality types. And the reason why I'm talking about this episode today is actually got it requested from one of our listeners, Stephanie. She asked me specifically how to deal with jerks in the workplace. So we're going to deal with jerks, we're going to deal with the know-it-all, and we're also going to deal with the introvert. So 2 bad types of personalities, and one, I wouldn't call it bad, it is just how it is. So without further ado, let's dive in. Let's talk about jerks first and foremost to answer Stephanie's question straight up. So jerks they're everywhere. Honestly, they're everywhere. Not just workplace. You'll see them out and about. You'll see them in your friends groups, your sports groups, whatever. Any place that there's a group of people gathering, generally there's a good chance that there could be a jerk amongst them. But don't fear. This is how you want to deal with jerks in anywhere, really. First off, you need to confront them and do that very delicately, I would say, because first and foremost, they may not even know that they're a jerk. They may not even know that their behavior is inappropriate. I know that may seem a shock to you, and it may seem to be a shock to a lot of people, because it's just natural for good, nice people to know what's appropriate and what's inappropriate, but not everybody has the same background as you and I. So just think about that. So confront them like, hey, do you know what you're doing and what you're saying is inappropriate? Don't do it, obviously, in a big front of the crowd. Do it quietly, off to the side, away from the main groups of people, okay? The next thing you want to keep in mind, if that doesn't work, keep to the high ground. And what I mean by keeping to the high ground is don't lower your standards. Don't become a jerk back to them. Alright? You don't want to do that to yourself, because all of a sudden then, if you become the jerk to the jerk, you're going to become the jerk, which everybody is going to not like. So keep to the high ground. Alright? Don't lower your standards. Next thing you need to do is, after you confront them and you've told them, once, maybe twice, a couple different aspects that their attitude or their behavior is inappropriate, you know what? You're going to have to go talk to your supervisor. Or if you are the leader of the organization, you're going to have to bring them in and have an actual sit-down meeting with them. Alright? And you have to do this immediately if we're dealing with harassment issues. Whether that be physical harassment, such as pushing, shoving, that shoulder bumping, verbal, oh, you're stupid, you don't know what you're talking about, that type of attitude, or even any type of harassment, okay? And then the final thing that you need to know about when you're dealing with jerks is generally these people are, I shouldn't say have given up on life, but basically have given up on life, in the terms that they are where they are. They may be jerks trying to get ahead further, but in the grand scheme of things, nothing is probably going to change them. So just keep that in mind. I know it's not the best news that you would want to hear, Stephanie, when dealing with jerks in the workplace. However, the biggest thing I would tell you, I would, the first two things, or all 3 points before the fact that nothing's going to change them, are all important. Letting them know that that they're jerks and that they should know that they're being a jerk. Always keep to the high ground, because you don't want to be seen as going down that road. And then finally and foremost, if informing your supervisor, if you're not the head of that organization, and if you are the leader of that organization, then it's time to bring them in. Just to spin off context of this, what happens if that jerk is the top player, the top salesperson of your organization, for example? What then? A lot of people would say, "Oh, they're the top person. I don't want to, have them run out or leave the organization or have to fire them because they're not my top salesperson." Well, or my top go-to. They're my go-to person, right? Or my top motivator, or my top performer. Is that one person worth your entire organization? Is the question you need to ask yourself, right? Because one person of that nature can easily destroy a team, can easily destroy an organization, because it seems like they get away with everything and everyone else has to deal with their crap, to put it bluntly. So keep that in mind. Ask that. If you're the leader, you're the supervisor, and that person who's deemed as the jerk is the top performer within your section or your organization, keep that in mind. Is that individual worth everyone else? And I would suggest the answer is no. One person is never worth the rest of the team. Keep that in mind. All right. So I hope this helps. I hope the rest of you out there don't have to deal with too many jerks, for example. So, but there is another type of personality out there, which is the know-it-all, which a lot of people generally have to deal with as well. The know-it-alls, as the title suggests, know everything, regardless of the topic at hand. They can recite encyclopedias, they know every sports statistic, they know every sales statistic, they know everything that is to be known. If Albert Einstein could be reinvented, they would be better than him, basically. These guys are definitely difficult to deal with, because trying to talk to them rationally generally doesn't help the situation. So again, like the jerks, one of the most important points is keep to the high ground. Don't lower your standards. Don't, generally people dealing with know-it-alls won't become know-it-alls themselves. Instead, they'll just become jerks to that person. So what you don't want to have happen is dealing with a know-it-all in your section, and then you becoming the jerk of the section, and then all of a sudden you got both a jerk and a know-it-all in one organization. That is just going to cause a complete meltdown. The next tip of advice I have for you when you're dealing with know-it-alls is don't argue with them. Know-it-alls know everything, alright? If you don't have facts at hand to support whatever your opinion is, or what your point of view is on a particular topic, don't go down the road of arguing with them, because they basically just won't listen to you, and instead all they're going to do is continually sloughing you off and telling you that no, you're wrong, they're right, for whatever reasons at hand. Alright? Argument is just going to cause heated debate and animosity amongst the organization. And keep in mind that you might be driving a wedge, not just between you and this individual, but you and the rest of the team, them and the rest of the team. There'll be people on your side, there's going to be people on their side. It's just human dynamics, right? So keep that in mind, that you don't want to start a big argument with them. Also, when you're dealing with know-it-alls, what you want to do is support your opinions, your point of views with straight, supported facts. This is the thing which puts know-it-alls in their place. Okay. This is when these are facts. Basically, tell the know-it-alls that no, they're wrong, and your opinion or your point of view is right based on these key pieces of information, and that they can't say anything against you for it. So in turn, the know-it-alls basically get shown that no, they don't know everything, right? But you got to make sure that you have them well in hand, and you have to make sure your facts are reputable for one thing, but easily accessible as well, right? You can't just say, yeah, well, I know there's a study out there that says whatever. You have to have it's straight up, ready to go whenever you're having these discussions. And if you don't have it on hand, it's too easy. Say, you know what, I'm going to get back to you on that one. I had to go back, there's something in my computer, I got a bookmark, or there's a file I have, whatever. Go back, get it, and then revisit the topic at hand when you are basically armed with your supporting facts. The next thing, which may seem a bit odd when you're dealing with know-it-alls, praise them when they are right and when you are wrong. And you may scratch your head at this one. You're like, why would I want to praise a know-it-all that drives me nuts every day? Well, you know what? Treat them like how you would be treated. So if you're right and they're wrong, you would like them to go, hey, yeah, good stuff. You're right. You know what? I was wrong that time. That is the way to go based off of whatever reason. Now, don't expect a know-it-all to go and say, oh yeah, thank you, appreciate that. No, basically what the point in turn that you're going to get from a know-it-all will be, yeah, I know. But this goes back to the very first point of this topic, is keeping to the high ground. Don't lower your standards. Regardless, if you had this conversation with anybody else, you would have praised them. All right, you would have praised them and said, "Yeah, you know what? You're right. Good job. Thanks for that. I'm going to whatever look at it a different way." So just keep that in mind. Praise them when they are right and you're wrong. On the flip side of that coin, though, is whenever you are whenever you are right and they're wrong, take your victories with composure. Don't do any dances. Don't be like in your face. Don't, basically, just like I said, keep to the high ground. Don't lower your standards. It's not a battle per se. Keep your composure and keep to the moral high ground when dealing with know-it-alls, right? That way, you look better in the end. Regardless of who's right and who's wrong, you look better than what they do in the eyes. If you're a leader dealing with a know-it-all, then bring them into your office and have a conversation with them and tell them, hey, I see you out there discussing with the rest of the team and you think you have all the answers the rest of the time. Meanwhile, Jane actually does have a good lot of experience and advice and ideas in there, and yours aren't necessarily always the best. So maybe you should take a seat back sometime. Let them know. It has to be a firm but fair conversation with know-it-alls. Let them know that that they think they know it all. That's how you deal with those people in the workplace. Let them know. Put them in their place and tell them that it's unacceptable to act that way and that this type of attitude is not supported within this organization or team. So just to sum up, know-it-alls, just to wrap up again, remember, keep to the high ground. Don't go into arguments with them. Support your opinions with straight, supported facts. Praise them when they're right and you're wrong, as much as that may pain you. And then finally, take your victories with composure and be the better person within the organization. So the final personality type that I'm going to talk about today is going to be the introvert. Introverts are very quiet people. They basically keep to themselves. Doesn't mean that they're hardworking or that they don't want to be part of the team. It could actually be quite the opposite. However, these personality types, they just generally don't enjoy big excitement. They very very quiet, and like I said, they keep to themselves very much. All right, and you just have to be aware of that. It's really not a bad thing. I know there's a lot of organizations and that have cultures out there that want very much extroverted people, people who think outside the box and so on and so forth. Doesn't mean introverts can't think outside the box and so on and so forth, but you need to have an understanding of how to basically crack that very hard nut shell, and it is going to take time. The biggest thing with introverts, it will take a lot of time before you can go ahead and crack that shell open. So when you're first dealing with introverts, you're going to want to talk to them in very short bursts. Very short, one very narrow specific topic at a time when you talk to them. Because what you don't want to have happen is you spending too much time with them and them shelling up when you are looking to get some great information out of them, okay? So, keep that in mind. The next thing when dealing with introverts is try to take your time and figure out what their niche is. A lot of introverts have very good niches, very specific areas which they operate amazingly at, okay? It could be accounting, it could be dealing with the books, it could be a million different things, generally which doesn't mean dealing with people, web designing. Social media, not so much with introverts, but you never know. Find what their niche is so that you can then in turn employ them within their niche, because you are now exponentially unlocking both their potential and their performance factors all in one shot. That will allow them to basically provide to the team at the highest level possible within their abilities. Next thing you want to do with introverts is praise them quietly. Introverts do not like a lot of open praise, a lot of big shows or anything like that. They don't want to be at the center of attention. You can actually have a lot of negative feedback or pushback from being praising introverts publicly. So what you want to do is praise them quietly in a very small setting, maybe completely by themselves if they're extreme introverts, okay? But praise them quietly. Give them the praise that they deserve, just like everybody else in the team. Just because they're introverted doesn't mean they don't deserve to get some praise, okay? So just keep that in mind. So just to basically wrap up introverts, have a look, talk to them in short bursts. Find their niche, that one thing that they are really good at, that they enjoy doing. Employ them within that niche if it is possible. Hopefully it is. You never know. And then finally, praise them quietly. Keep in mind, these people can be outstanding assets to your organization. So hopefully this will help you when you have to deal with an introvert. That's today's episode. Hope you enjoyed it, especially you, Stephanie. Hopefully you don't have to deal with a jerk in your workplace too much. Or hopefully what the advice I gave you today helps out in allowing you to deal with said jerk. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, just like Stephanie did, feel free to shoot in your questions. You can either email them at scott@movingforwardleadership.com. You can follow me on Twitter at MFL, as in Moving Forward Leadership _podcast, and shoot me a message via Twitter. Or you can go on the website at movingforwardleadership.com, and there's a form there, contact me form, and fill that out, and let me know if you have suggestions, you have questions, you have topic ideas, or you yourself are a leader and you're interested in joining me on the podcast. I'm definitely wide open to the idea of bringing in guests who are listeners to pass their ideas on various subjects. In today's show notes, I'm going to have a few different articles which helped me in creating this podcast when dealing with a number of different types of employees or coworkers, as well as the Google Plus community link to the HB Rogue. And then finally, if you are listening for the first time, you can go ahead and subscribe to this podcast, either on Shout Engine, Google Play Music, or iTunes. And I got all those links in the show notes as well. And where can you find those show notes again? It's at movingforwardleadership.com. I'd like to thank everybody listening. Last episode, I noticed a good jump in our listeners here at Moving Forward Leadership. So hopefully this is now your second, or not even your second, but your seventh episode that you listen to. But it seems like the setting goals has definitely got a number of people downloading that episode. So if you have any feedback or if you have any questions, feel free to again get in touch with me, and I'm more than happy. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I wish everyone a great day and keep moving forward. Thanks. Take care now.